Hi everyone, Kim Victoria here, and today is the last day of hashtag ABC April 2025. Oh my goodness, this month has been phenomenal, exciting. I've had to be really disciplined. All of my little yellow boxes there, really working to do as many days as I can, and I'm going to be doing more. I'm going to take that prompt list. I'm going to do more of this. I'm just not going to be in the same structure. And so, yeah, keep an eye on my playlist. So, what I have for you today is Zine. I'm going to share my chart with you. I'm going to share with you just the structure and some couple of fun little things. And let me just go really quickly through this one zine. And I have spent quite a few hours on this. This little structure here I made when at the beginning of January of this year, where I made 9 ways to use old calendar pages. And I made this little structure. This is a zine structure, but I didn't do anything with it. So today I did something with it. I got it out. I put a little washi tape on what is now the spine fold. And I don't, I haven't been making little labels and clusters and tags the way Toni and Margreth have been doing. So I've been making things per the project that I'm working on. So I did that with this one. And I might start making little tags and clusters and things. But I also like making things for the project at hand. So I had this little structure of a calendar page of aspen trees that folded over really nice. And that's what you want with a zine is you want a paper that is non-directional because some of the pages will be upside down. But these little forest of aspen trees, um, you couldn't really tell too much what was right side up and upside down. So I turned that calendar page into a zine structure. And zine just means magazine because this form of folding is actually used in the printing of magazines and books. So I talk about that a little more later. So I went ahead and I got out my various little stamps and some, little papers and things and just started putting this together. And you have a choice on a zine. You can leave your pockets open. You wind up with 2 pockets on the top and 2 pockets on the side. So I went ahead and I left this little structure with the pockets open, and I created some tags to go on the inside of the pockets. And I used the edge of a credit card scraped over an ink pad to draw some lines for a little writing spot. So I used some rubber stamps. I had some stickers, and I just put together some little cards. So I went with a theme here of it just being beautiful and finding your own joy and having fun and playing. And that's what I was doing. I was playing. I wanted to turn this little structure into a little magazine. So I just started playing with rubber stamps and stickers and little goodies that are in my stash. Little, yeah, stickers and did some rubber stamping, little leaves that I pulled apart from their structure of being on a little plastic branch, some rubber stamping, some of my own words, and more writing spots. So I actually made this into a little zine. So this is a flip through first. And then I get into showing you the structure. And you're going to see it on other channels, certainly. So, but this is a form. This is one form. This is one form. And of course, there's writing and poetry and quotes and a mixture of all of the above. So let's go ahead and take a look at making the structure. because a zine can take on so many forms, I primarily wanted to share with you structure in this video and keep the video short. So here's the chart that you can take a screenshot with. And I'm just going to do a simple demo with these different sizes of paper, and then we'll move on to a couple of ideas, and then you can go and have fun with it. So I'm in the United States, so we have letter size paper, which is 8.5 by 11. And when you're doing the structure, it's very, very simple because all you want to do is, and be careful about it, you want it to be as accurate as possible. Make each fold separately. So at this point, I would not fold it this way. I want to open it up and fold each fold separately. And that way we're going to have a more accurate, it's all going to fold up nice. That's what I'm trying to say. Um, so yeah, so then you fold it in half one way and then the other way. And then what we want to do is fold into the center from the long sides, um, or the short sides. I don't know. You can see what I'm doing. Oh, golly. Language is such a funny thing, isn't it? All right. So I'm bringing in the short sides into the center. Okay, so now what we have is this kind of configuration. And there, there's a couple of different ways you can create the cut in the middle. You, of course, can use a knife and a ruler. And I'm just going to be very casual about it here. My light is so even, it's hard to see the center. I'll just cut right up to that line. So what you wind up with is this thing going on. So I'm going to pick it up and fold it over. And there it is. That is all there is to it. And then you need to flatten it out because all those folds are just a micron off, they're just ever so slightly off. So I had folded a previous one, so I went ahead and I inked the edges to make it a little more obvious. You can see where the inside folds wind up. So what's interesting also about this folding technique, and this has actually been used for centuries in the book industry, except that this shape of paper, these dimensions, are much larger. And they fold them actually multiple different ways. And that creates a signature in a book. So I've been aware of this for decades. But for us that are making just these fun little zines, this is just the super simple way of doing it. So imagine if you were ganging up 64 of 64 numbers, you'd really have to figure out what number goes where. So that's where what you want to do with this is once you have folded it up and you know which direction you're going, because actually how you fold it from here can be kind of arbitrary. I mean, I'm folding it this way, but there's nothing to say that you can't fold it from there or from there. It's you when you do this, you will see how flexible it is. But once you've decided on that, it's always good to put a number in the direction that you're going. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, underline 6, 7, and of course 8. Then when you open it back up again, you can see 1 is in this corner, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And from here, this is where you can do whatever it is you're going to do. You can do it all folded up, or you can do it from this. So for example, and I'm going to get into those other paper sizes, so hang in there with me. So for example, I took like a little half sheet of paper and I was playing around and going like, well, I've got a lot of drawings and I've scanned them into the computer. So I was thinking, oh, I should make like a little art zine. So what I did was I went into my computer and I created a little art zine that I can copy and I can give it away. So this is again an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. This is a little heavyweight, it's a 28-pound presentation sort of paper, so it's got a little more um, strength to it. I also cut down to 200 DPI. This is an inkjet paper, and I reduced it to 200 DPI so that the paper wouldn't get so saturated with ink. And this is something that you can play with in your own printer settings. So this is 200 DPI, and it reduced the amount of ink. And so the paper came out nice and flat because otherwise, if I'd gone 300, everything would have been very soaked. It would have been super saturated color, but I don't need that. You know, sometimes you can play around with it. And so when I go and fold this up, and again, I want to be accurate with this. I'm going to wind up with kind of a fun little art zine. And of course, I could also just draw directly onto these pages. And as a matter of fact, I know I've met a college student who does exactly that. She takes a sheet of paper and she folds it up, and then she does drawings and writings and a little bit of collage and whatever her spirit moves her to do on a flat sheet. And then she takes it and gets it scanned, and she makes a whole bunch of copies. And from those copies, and I'm going to do this the proper way here, she makes a whole bunch of copies and carries them around in her backpack, and she distributes them at college to whoever would like to have one, or she just leaves them lying about so they can be found. And I've seen them and they're very creative. So she does a really marvelous job of creating her own magazines. All right, so now I can fold this, bring them together. And you can be gentle with it, you know, you want to work it around until you get those folds to behave themselves. That's how I think of it, you know, because it's like now you're folding it differently than what it was before. And of course, you could do it a little at a time too. That might be good. This is a little bit heavier paper. This was 20 pound. 20-pound paper is going to be a little more flexible, shall we say. And this is 28 pound. All right. So, because I already mapped this out on the computer, so now I have, there's page 1 and 2 and 3. So I put some themes together of little things I've done, and little drawings. This was quite a large drawing, actually. And then this is like a business card, you know, I can hand that out and people can find my YouTube channel and see what else I'm up to, right? So I made this little art zine. So that's one of the things that you can do with this. Now, of course, you can write, you can collage, you can do poetry, you can do quotes, you can do a Tim Holtz, lots of Tim Holtz sorts of things. You can have if you make tags. You know, I haven't usually made tags, but so that was something I wanted to show you here too. So I'm starting to make tags. I've watched Margreth and Toni making tags. So when we look at, this is the A2 US letter size, and this is an A4. Now I can't buy A4, but I know what size it is. So I just took a 9 by 12 sheet of thin sketch pad and I cut it down to 8 1/4 by 12. And that way I can see what size the A4 is. So when I fold that up, it's going to be a little bit different and it doesn't matter, right? It just doesn't matter. You're going to have a little bit different size. And we also need to do scrapbook paper because that's different again. So let's compare. Let's see what this looks like. So this is your A4. I will just do a casual cut on this one. All right, so there's A4. See, not much different at all. You know, it's a tad wider and an eighth of an inch shorter. So it's a really nice shape. You know, this has a really nice shape. So so those are those two sizes. And then when I was looking at scrapbook paper, well, if you've got a 12 by 12, you're going to get a tall, skinny one. And that can be a good thing. That can be an advantage. I mean, there's things you can do with tall, skinny ones. Gives you a whole different look. So let's take a look at making a tall, skinny one. And then I'll show you what I did with the other piece. And if you have a little white exposure, you really can't trim it. You can trim it on the bottom, but you can't really trim it on the sides because then you'll open up your folds. But let's see what I did here. You know, that's when you ink the edges and it doesn't matter anymore. It all disappears. So it'll be fine. So then I took a piece of 12 by 12 scrapbook paper and I cut off 2 inches because that gives us a nice rectangular shape. And that's going to give a little bit more of a natural magazine shape because that's what a zine is it's just it's a little magazine. That's why it's so versatile. You know, a magazine can be anything. It can be any subject matter. It can be it can be whatever you want it to be, and it can be a lot of fun, and it can just be a real simple thing. And think of it this way, if you were to make a little magazine, maybe of like what happened in the previous year, that you could make it into like a little picture journal that goes out at Christmas time or a holiday time or a birthday, sometime when you want to communicate with a lot of people, you know, everybody in your family, say, or friends and family, or maybe you want to make it into a card. You know, this could be a card where you are communicating with a lot of people all at the same time. Wouldn't that be a fun card? Or like an announcement, like a baby being born. So it could be an announcement on this date at this time, you know, our new member of the family was born, could be a pet too. Um, and it could be an announcement, a baby shower, you know, come to the baby shower, that kind of thing. You could have a photo of the baby in here. So that's this could be a card. It could be a little thing that goes out to a lot of people for any number of reasons, or like this college student I met who makes a bunch of these and hands them out to, whoever is interested in her point of view, in her artistic creations. It can be a little business card, kind of a special one, but hey, if you really want to share your thoughts, your creativity, and if you do something like this and you make it into a collage, you could still scan it and make a whole bunch of them and hand them out. So here we go. This is this is the whole thing about a zine, and all these different sizes are possible. We have the A2 letter size, we have the A4 size, we have a 10 by 12 scrapbook paper, and you want to use thin, single-sided scrapbook paper. This really doesn't work at all with any of the heavier weight papers, any card stocks. Then you have to get more into making a miniature journal, because the folds just, they're going to fight you tooth and nail, okay? So that's, here's a full 12 by 12. You could put little pockets in here. I mean, it's one of those creative, sky's the limit kinds of things. So really, I think that was all I wanted to share with you about a zine today. I wanted to keep this short and sweet, share with you the structure, and give you some ideas for taking your creativity into this mini journal form, this mini magazine form. The card, it's a mini card. It's really versatile. So I hope that you take that and have some fun with it. And well, this is the Z Day. Oh my goodness, it is the last day of ABC April 2025. However, I want you to know that now that I have enjoyed this wonderful collaboration, I am so grateful. I am so grateful to Margreth and Toni for doing this. Look at all these prompts. Well, I couldn't possibly do them all in my life um, in just this 1 month, but I was able to do over half the alphabet. So I really disciplined myself, and I have this list. And stay on my playlist for the ABC April because I'm not going to use the hashtag anymore. That's a no-no. That wasn't part of the deal. But I am going to continue to do this ABC idea because I love it. And I was already heading down that track before I found out about this ABC April. I was already working on, well, gee, there's so many components or elements to paper crafting and junk journal and card making and all of this sort of thing. So a zine is just one possibility. But we still, I come from a card making background and all kinds of things. So keep an eye on my playlist, and I'm going to be adding to it. And I'm going to go back to working on my black and white journals. I have two more for sure that I'm going to make. And I have, oh my goodness, I do have a lot of ideas that I want to explore. So stick with me, please. And I'm going to be filling in some of the gaps that I didn't have time to get to. So, yeah, it's fun. It's really, really fun. Thank you so much for being here and watching and joining my channel and subscribing and your wonderful comments and helping to know what you're interested in. And I'm still going to be doing more sewing covers. I have a few ideas there. Oh my goodness, I have so many wonderful ideas that I hope that inspire and bring you, more of creative ideas for your own joy. And that's what I'm really wanting to do is to share my joy and stimulate your joy. And so I'll let you go for now. And this has been a wonderful month, wonderful month. And I hope you are discovering so many wonderful creators as I am. So, I'll be back soon. Bye for now.